Hello viewer, I'm Father Lokk. Please subscribe and enjoy the programs.
The Skinner family car rumbled up the driveway, its headlights briefly illuminating the house. John Skinner, his face etched with fatigue, turned off the engine. Beside him, Mary cradled their baby boy David, who had been unusually quiet during the long drive home. Inside, the house was still and unnaturally cold. John put down their bags, a shiver running down his spine. David, usually a bubbly baby, remained eerily quiet. His eyes, wide and unblinking, seemed to fix on something unseen. That night, as Mary tried to settle David, he arched his back and screamed, an ear-splitting shriek that echoed through the house. His tiny fingers twisted into claws, scratching at her face. John, rushing in, found Mary in tears, her cheek bleeding from the baby's surprisingly strong grip. John picked up David, trying to soothe him. The baby's cries subsided, replaced by a low, guttural growl that seemed impossible to be coming from a child so young. John looked at Mary, fear etched on both their faces. Something was terribly wrong. The days that followed were filled with a creeping dread. Objects moved inexplicably, a vase crashing to the floor in the dead of night, toys coming alive in the darkness. Whispers, too low to decipher, seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, sending shivers down their spines. Sleep offered no respite. Mary was plagued by nightmares, vivid and terrifying. John would wake to find her sitting up in bed, drenched in sweat, her eyes wide with terror. She spoke of a dark temple, chanting, and a blood ritual, her voice trembling. One afternoon, as John sat rocking David, he felt a cold spot settle over him. Looking down, he saw David's eyes, now completely black, staring back at him. A wave of nausea washed over him, and he stumbled back, dropping the baby on the sofa. David, unharmed, continued to stare at him, a chilling smile spreading across his face. John, his breath catching in his throat, knew they were dealing with something far more sinister than just a colicky baby. Mary's visions intensified. She saw a clearing in a jungle, torches casting flickering shadows on the faces of people clad in dark robes. They surrounded a stone altar, chanting in a language that sent chills down her spine. A young woman, her eyes filled with terror, was dragged towards the altar. A baby, no older than David, was ripped from her arms. The chanting reached a fever pitch as a figure, cloaked in shadows, approached the altar, a ceremonial dagger glinting in the firelight. Mary would wake screaming, her nightgown soaked in sweat. The visions felt too real, the terror palpable. She tried to tell John to explain the growing dread that was consuming her, but words failed her. John, desperate for answers, sought help from their family doctor, who dismissed their concerns as sleep deprivation and anxiety. But John knew in his heart that something was terribly wrong, something that went beyond the realm of the rationale. Driven to the brink, John sought out Father Michael, an old priest known for his understanding of the unknown. Father Michael listened intently, his eyes filled with concern as John recounted their terrifying experiences. Father Michael's face grew grave. He spoke of a darkness, an ancient evil that had been awakened. He asked John about their past, their recent travels. John mentioned their trip to Bali, their stay near a remote village. And then John remembered. An altercation with a local woman, her desperate pleas for him to leave her and her child alone, his dismissive anger, the way he had shoved her aside. Father Michael listened, his expression grim. "Your disrespect, your violence towards that woman and her child," Father Michael said, his voice heavy. "It has unleashed a curse upon your family. You have angered a powerful entity, and it now seeks retribution through your son. To be continued." Thanks everybody for joining me for this haunting tale from the mind of Father Lokk and Father Lokk's Horror House. Welcome to the family, all new subscribers. It's an honor to call you a Lokk. Please subscribe and hit your notification bell if you haven't already, so you won't miss part 3 and the final conclusion to this creepy story. Be safe out there, and in the words of Father Lokk, always remember and always know that he love y'all. Bye family.